Everything you need is already inside of you. The world would not be what it is without you. When we begin to create change within us, we begin to create change in the world around us. Your journey to becoming your best self as the whole person starts right now.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. My name is Lauren Sweeney. I'm the Vice President here at Rise Up For You. I'm excited to bring this intentional conversation about play and creating intentional connections and company culture. It's going to be fantastic. Our guest today is Scott Novis. Let me read a little bit about him. Whether you're listening live or maybe you're watching us webinar style on our Facebook page, we're excited you're here. Thank you for rising up for you and those around you. Well, Scott is the founder of Bravous. It's a company that is helping businesses with remote teams, like many of us have today, increase retention. We definitely want that by hosting fun workshops that improve culture and team health. I love that word, our team health. Scott comes from an eclectic background of professional influences. He has 2 engineering degrees, fantastic, and has worked as a Disney executive before leaving to found GameTruck. I love that. The leading national franchise company, best known for its video game birthday parties. Yes, I have taken my kids to a few places. Wow, that is a really interesting background, Scott. I love it. Well, welcome to the podcast. We're excited to have you on the show.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. It's, it's all summed up by I have a long history of fun. So we've mostly with video games.
I love it. Now, even when you were doing engineering, it was still fun, right? You pulled the fun into the engineering.
You know, I like to say I'm a recovering engineer. You know, it's problem solving, and I still think that's fun.
I love it. Wow. Yes, I've definitely used your game trucks for my kids' birthday parties. And we work with a lot of companies, and retention, company culture is like top of mind. We also have a lot of people listening, they're entrepreneurs, and they can take the same thing we're going to talk about today, this element of play, into building just deeper connections. And who doesn't want that? So
that's the hope.
Yeah, exactly. The hope is that people can use it in all different aspects, right? So tell me about this notion and what you're doing today that's so impactful on bringing this in.
Well, okay. So one of the things that sort of this intersection of ideas is that obviously the video gaming community has been playing together online for a very long time. And all of a sudden you took a bunch of non-gamers, a lot of professional people, and said, go home and don't come back. And it happened to my company. So we went through this. Believe it or not, being a video game event business company, we got rid of our office. We went completely remote, and man, we thought we were killing it until one of my best people resigned, and I was shocked. And in his exit interview, he was like, "None of this has anything to do with me." And it was this level of disconnection that what had happened for us is that we were doing, all the meetings, all the Zoom, all the structure. And what we were doing is systematically turning our entire staff into Fiverr and Upwork employees. Because in our office, you think about, where's the break room? Why do we do it? Everybody hates cubes, but there's an advantage to open planning. A lot of the physical spaces that we have in an office are engineered around social dynamic. It's like marbles in a jar bumping up against each other. And when we went online, all that evaporated. And then it became, if our only relationship is transactional, like how committed are you to we wouldn't even deal with bank tellers anymore. We do it on our phone, right? Any transactional relationship can be replaced and will be replaced with software and a computer. Teams are made of people. And what we started to see is like a lot of things about leadership are, if you're the leader, you're this hub, right? You're in the center of things, and your efforts to lead are like spokes going out to the edge. How healthy is the rim? How healthy is the tire? And we were seeing ours deteriorate. It matters how the staff interact with each other. And so if you take nothing else away from this at all, I would say the most important thing you could do is form a fun committee. If you got remote teams or hybrid teams and you're in a weird environment, 2 great things are going to come out of this. And this is what we did. The people that most need social interaction are going to volunteer to be on that committee. And so they're going to get their needs met right away. So some of your high-risk individuals are going to lead the way and help everybody else, and you're going to get them something they need. more time outside of task work and dopamine driven trigger. Oh, I got it done, to actually get to know each other, to actually connect with each other. The key ingredient is called unplanned, unstructured conversations. As Brene Brown said, vulnerability is where connection flows. If you're always executing, you're always perfect, there's no room for vulnerability. And that's the other thing we noticed, is that most work relationships are, especially for men, and this is not healthy. And this is one of those things where I'm super excited to see so many more strong, good female leaders. Like Connie Perez, one of my favorite CEOs. She was the CEO of Boys and Girls Club in East Valley, just creating a different relationship where we can work together and it's not competitive. It's collaborative, it's cooperative. And that's another way that you can get connection to flow. And so what does this do? You got your fun committee, you're doing fun things. Where is it safe to make a mistake?
I love that. It's like golden, Scott.
Yeah,
and like you said, you're like, well, of course we have a good team culture. Of course we can crush it remotely. And then the shoe drops right on you, literally on your head, and your best person, leaves. And then it was the impetus.
Yeah. And what we ended up doing from that committee is, they put together monthly events, and it could be whatever, but there's now a way more intentional effort to create that cross bonding and cross communication and activities. And, the punchline for us was that somebody, today it's very competitive, tried to hire our chief of marketing. And the reason he stayed, it's like you put it all on the table and his comp, everything else, but he stayed because he goes, I can't imagine a team like this anywhere else. I can't imagine building a team like this anywhere else.
Wow.
I think people are loyal to each other as much as anything else. And that's the culture, right? Is like, when I'm not around, how do people interact with each other? How do they talk to each other? How do they support each other? And what we've found is, when you're so we do this for ourselves, when we play, it's safe to take off your professional suit of armor, that impression management, like, oh, I know what I'm doing, I get it done. When you play, you don't have to be so serious, and you can actually relax. But it synchronizes everybody. It's not enough to belong to an organization. You have to do things together to give your belonging meaning. And a lot of times, people are so specialized today, they're not all doing the same types of work together. Games and play and fun gives them a chance to create a new shared memory. When they do that, they create identity. They create a group identity. What's your group identity? And how are you reinforcing your group identity? We have lots of tools to reinforce individual identities, but that's what leads to independent contractors.
Right.
We're trying to shape a cultural identity as we as a group care about these things. We do these things for each other and our customers, and our partners. And so we've got to be willing to do those things. And we found play to be hugely valuable in letting people actually relax and laugh and connect.
And how would you say, let's say somebody's listening and they're an entrepreneur and they're building a team. Maybe it's small, maybe it's a team of just a couple. We have both listening today. How would you say that they should use play and even creating connections, say, with their customers and their clients and that as well?
Oh, it's a great question. Our experience comes from what we've done. And one of the things, so what we do is we host events. So we have, because of a big chunk of our business is doing collegiate competitive esports. So we're very good at making it fun to watch bad video game play. It's not the top level. It's just the people you want to hang out with. And that became a big deal for colleges and universities during COVID. Well, we started to realize that we do the same things for business. So having a professional commentator that creates the structure and the organization, that does an important thing for the entrepreneur, the leader, the boss, takes them off the pedestal and brings them down on par with everybody else. Because it's even harder when you're in the lead to make a mistake, right? It's like, it's so much pressure to be perfect all the time. Like, I've sat through some things where some of the executives tried to run trivia, and you're like, oh, this is just so awkward and painful to watch. Getting somebody else creates a safe distance where they can just kind of drop in and be part of the group that's going on. And the beauty of gameplay is, if I was going to teach you something, Lauren, all the science says you will begin to adapt your behavior to match what you think my expectations for you are. We learn this in school. We will adjust to the teacher. When you play a game, you can only be yourself. So it's so engaging. You drop all of those pretenses and you just have to participate. And once you do, that's that vulnerability. And now we can be connected. And what the announcer does, or the commentator, they create that recognition, like being in Little League or soccer when somebody got the microphone and the announcer out going, Lauren has the ball and she's going to go score a goal. And all of a sudden there's this, you're being recognized for doing what you're doing. And you know other people are recognizing you for doing what you're doing. And this is that environment where now we can begin to have those conversations and memories. Going, remember when you scored that goal in Hacksball? That was crazy. Or, oh, it was so cool. And now we've got those conversations like it used to be, go to lunch, right? And, you know, our big recommendation is get everybody a DoorDash, right? Buy everybody lunch, take an hour, carve out some time and do something fun together so that you're putting those deposits back into the culture jar. Like, we're here, like tip number 2, find out, conduct stay interviews. Like this is one of our big, I started doing with some of my franchisees in the GameTruck business. And every time they do it, they're shocked. They're like, I don't like working here. We're like, no kidding, right? Why? What is it they love about working there? How can you do more of that? And that information can inform your fun committee, and that information can inform your fun Fridays or Tuesdays or whatever it is. You know, it's almost this danger of, like, as adults, we need permission to play. And it's probably the biggest challenge for all of this is that you're like, oh, I'll play some other time. And then you lose people. And you're like, oh, well, I got even more work to do. I'm like, you just get on this treadmill that's brutal.
I love that you said that you conduct stay interviews. You know, you mentioned the exit interview with the high-level team member that you unfortunately lost. A stay interview. We do that as well. Our CEO will often ask, you know, what are you excited about? What do you want long-term for your pay, for your benefits? Even if we're not there yet, what is it? What is your vision for your role, for your fulfillment? I love that, Scott. And giving ourselves permission to play. You know, my kids have no problem playing, right? They love to play. But there is, exactly like you said, this hamster wheel of like, well, I've got to do more. I've got to do more. And really, we lose that relationship with ourselves. We lose creativity to be a better entrepreneur, leader, boss. And then we lose key people. Let's go back to identity. You were talking about through the play, you build those relationships, you build those connections, and then you talked about identity. Let's dive back into that.
Well, identity is a human. Okay, so this is a phenomenal book, is Sapiens by Yuval Harari. And there's such a profound idea here, right? Human beings are the only animals that can change their behaviors in our own lifetimes. Like, you know, simple proof, we're everywhere. We're from deserts to tundra. We are super adaptable, but it comes at a price. Because we could change our behaviors, we actually watch what we do to inform ourselves about who we are. We're constantly building a sense of identity. So like the power of James Clear's Atomic Habits is really about shifting your identity. Oh, I do these kinds of things, therefore I'm this kind of person. Well, we have amazing identities that are connected to the stories of the people we're with. So we don't only have a personal identity and a professional identity, we have a group identity. And that, who are we connected with? You know, it's who resonates with us, who shares our values, who do we have a harmony of values with? It's almost like music. Like when it works at all levels, it's awesome. And what frequently happens, especially what we saw in our own company, we hear from other companies all over the place with remote work, is that those layers of music have started to break down because, again, we're only doing task work. And, you know, the nature of Zoom is such that because we don't know where to look, because everybody's looking in different directions, it stresses our brain out. In physical space, we're wired to watch each other, and we'll all look together. We'll all cue off each other constantly, and Zoom like shatters that. When we're in a game where we're doing a synchronous activity, it's relaxing. We can calm down and go, I know where to pay attention. I know what's important. And play lets us reconnect with that social glue that says, oh yeah, I'm like these people and they're like me. And once I have that, it's sort of that how we act informs ourselves of who we are. Ben Horowitz, that was the name of his book. What you do is who you are.
Yeah.
And if we never do anything together, then we're not together. We're not a group. We're not a company. I work here and you work here separately. It's creating the opportunities for us to do things together. And meaning comes from when I have responsibility for something that can benefit you, when I can help you. And so, it's not only play. There's lots of things you can do, like recognition channels, shout out channels. Like one of the ones in my company is one of my favorites is the raise a hand. Because somebody willing to ask for help in front of the entire company, including the owner, to me is a sign of a healthy culture, because it's like, hey, we're not worried about ego here. We just want to get it right. And we'll help each other to do that. But we found that, again, that's still task work. It's just only problem solving. Sometimes we need to do things that remind us of our common humanity, our need to laugh, not be perfect. And a guy named Jack Panskip found the neurocircuitry in human heads. Like we're wired for play. It does something powerful for us. It activates our explorer, our ability to identify the good and the bad. It allows us to find where are the boundaries. Because I'm sure all of your listeners have heard of, fight or flight. We know the negative, but what's the positive? What are you trying to get to? Barbara Friedrichsen's broaden and build. When it's safe, when I create safety for you, because I trust you, you trust me. I can make a mistake in front of you and you're not going to think less of me. I'm doing my best, right? When we have that level of trust going on in an organization, it enables us to move out of a fear-driven mode into a more optimistic, hopeful, resilient mode and begin to broaden and build. And that's where creativity exists. Man, it's really hard to be creative when you're afraid of making a mistake. It's how do you do it?
Absolutely.
So when you get to identity, you have to see yourself, not only yourself, but your coworkers and your company in this environment as a safe place to try things that are new, that may not work, and it's going to be okay. And you practice those where it doesn't matter so much. Practice it on a fun Friday. Practice it, and hey, we're going to take lunch. We're going to have fun, and it's going to be okay. We're going to make mistakes. It feels silly. And we're comfortable with those emotions, and we can support each other. And if we could do it in trivial ways, we can begin to do it in more meaningful ways. So hopefully we can do it when it really matters. If you only wait till it really matters, that's like talking about golf your whole life, but never picking up a club until money's on the line and you're in the tee box going swing. How's that going to work out?
That's so great. I love how you mentioned, we're going to tell them where they can find more about you as well. When you mentioned allowing the CEO to make mistakes and come off that pedestal, it's also relaxing for you as a leader to go, oh, I'm giving myself permission too, because people always see me on that pedestal.
I know I'm a big scary guy. I don't believe that, but it's like, and so many other entrepreneurs I know, like that. I know it's not you. It's what your team needs to see you as. And so it's almost their projections onto you. And so just getting a little space so they're not focused on you, but they're focused on somebody else leading the activity for a while could just create that emotional space for you to reconnect with the people you love working with in ways that is really difficult otherwise. Because now you're all like, well, we're all in a class together. Right. But if you don't create that extra space, all those like expectations and unspoken rules can get in the way. And, I've just seen that for years when we do corporate events for GameTruck in person, everything else. We watch all the adults hang back. They'll sit back and wait until it's okay to play. And for a lot of leaders, it's not your permission they need. They need the permission from their coworkers. Because we're all holding each other's value in our hands. Who am I? Who are you? So creating, that's why I love the fun committee, because that's a group of people that are willing to come in and set the tone and the example that this is going to be okay here. Like, we're okay to play. We like each other, and this is a safe environment for us to let our hair down a little bit and remember why we share so many values in common. And then for the CEO to come along and be swept up in that, it just takes so much pressure off, because so many of us are on the team and managing the team. Like, so many entrepreneurs are the heavy hitters that are expected to produce, whether it's big sales or big innovations or whatever. it's like being in the machine and working on the machine at the same time is a real challenge. And giving the reins to somebody else can free you up to just kind of relax and be a human being.
Yeah, I love that. Fantastic. Tell us what you would find on your website, Scott Novis. So CSCOTTNOVIS, like it sounds.com/play. What will we
Yep.
find there?
Well, what you're going to find there, and the number one thing you want to look for is come to one of our fun and ours. So we're still working on our guide for fun committee and best practices. So that isn't quite up yet. I know this is a live cast, but what you will find is every other week we run a live fun and art. And so it's like come in and join us and a bunch of other like-minded people and play for a little while and get a sense of what we're actually talking about. Because for most people, especially non-gamers, it's hard for them to relate to what I'm describing. Like they can't visualize it. And what we're really talking about is creating an experience that people are going to have. And we all know that experiences integrate learning so much better than me just talking at you. So the most important thing is you'll find all the resources I'm talking about, the references, and you'll get an opportunity to, there's no cost, check it out, to jump in and see, oh, that's how this works. That's what this looks like. Because I'm always challenging my team while we do some of the biggest video games, whether it's Smash Brothers or League of Legends and things that are super popular. A lot of the games we do for corporate, I'm like, your mom has to be able to get in this, right? My mom can get in these and play these games. Like these have to be 100% inclusive. The IT department can't freak out and lose their minds. It's got to be like, oh, I just open a browser, I'm in a Zoom call, and I'm playing with the people I work with. This is great. And that's what we're focused on. So, invite you to come and check it out and experience it. And we keep adding resources all the time to help people. Simon Sinek's a huge fan of play. Like it's a gateway to creativity and resiliency and bonding.
Oh, so good, Scott. We love to ask a question as we kind of wrap it up. What does Rise Up for You mean to you?
I love it because it's a call to your potential. I think that we all have that ability. As you can see, if you're seeing me on camera, I've got gray hair. I'm not a youngin' anymore, but I'm still young at heart. And I don't feel like I'm finished by a long shot. And I love that idea. And it's just like, I got goosebumps during your intro of like, yeah, I could still be my best self. And I love the tools and what you're doing to encourage. Because here's the other thing, especially when you're doing play, I'll add this, and you're a leader, encourage your people. They don't get enough encouragement. None of us do. And so I love what you're doing because we all need a little bit more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the great work you're doing and for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you. It's been a blast.
Yeah, really great. Oh, so good, right? I mean, company culture, retention, the great resignation, so many topics that we touched on with Scott today. Just building relationships and giving yourselves permission to play. I love that. My kids are going to freak out when they hear this episode. They're like, yes, more play and that identity shift. So good. Well, I want to let you know that you can work with us for as low as $149 a month. Did you know that we have a new power coaching program here at Rise Up for You? And if you want to watch on our webinar Facebook side, you'll see the website, or just simply go to riseupforyou.com, click on coaching, look for power coaching, and you can grab a free call if you want to find out if it's for you. I'm Lauren Sweeney, and it's been my absolute pleasure to host you today. And I'll